Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and in this video I want to discuss turn 8. This is my turn 8 Bard perspective of our kill. I like to do these videos because as much as I can make a guide and say, hey, this is how everything should play out if it goes perfectly, everything doesn't always go perfectly. So in these kill perspectives, you can see when we make mistakes in a real kill, how to counteract them. And on top of that, I used to put these at the end of my videos, and they were just way too long, so I include them now. So this is phase 1 of the fight. Phase 1 shouldn't take you too long to get to learn. Once you understand how the towers work in homing missile, then those are really the biggest things of the first 2 sets of double towers. So we get a Dreadnought Tower and the Defensive Maneuver Tower on the west side of the arena. We actually just push the Dreadnought Tower really quickly. We get it out and we kill it. We're also solo tanking this, so if you're wondering about solo tanking it, watch very carefully what the tank does. I know from this perspective it's very hard to see. Hopefully in the future, I can get something more of a tank perspective on this fight. This is really the only thing a single tank has to learn. From what he tells us is he provokes it, he pre-buffs himself so he can get Convalescence and Thrill of Battle up, so he can get Stone Skins and Eloquiums before it even spawns. He pops every single one of his defensive cooldowns, Inner Beast, Vengeance, Foresight, everything possible. And then he provokes it, tomahawks it again. I don't know if he tomahawks it a third time. I'm pretty sure after that he just does whatever. He just does his regular aggro combo. He's confident enough in his aggro, especially with an animus weapon, that he should be okay. Now on top of that, the Defensive Maneuver Tower just goes off. You just got to heal through it. There's not really much you can do to counteract that, other than the obvious sucker, Sacred Soil. In case you're wondering why we didn't have a Sacred Soil, I don't know if we did. I didn't actually look. I have my effects turned off, so I can't see Sacred Soil, which, by the way, is the dumbest thing you could do. Make sure you don't turn off your effects that would make it so you can't see a Sacred Soil circle. Sure, you can just trust everyone, like, oh, everyone's stacking in Sacred Soil. Just make sure you can see Sacred Soil. I feel terrible not being able to see Sacred Soil right now. So we got the second set of whatever they're called, of the towers, and we got landmines and defensive maneuver. So the reason why we move into the boss like that for landmines, you're always safe there. If you're in that center square where the boss is standing, you're safe from landmines no matter where they spawn. So it's always a safe place to group up after landmines have spawned. Now, I just pulled out another homing missile again. Those can really be anybody. Those don't have to be a Bard. I know you're thinking, oh, well, Bard's the most mobile, so it's probably a good idea. You can change your positioning slightly and make it a Monk or a Dragoon. We're in between the flank and the rear right here, so that's why we have me do it, so because the DPS are just kind of strafing to the left and the right just to deal with it. Now, this is Ballistic Missile. Big mistake was almost made there, but last-minute save by the summoner there. Someone had a small circle and someone had a big circle, but the summoner was standing in such a way that he was in the small circle and the large circle, which you can't have because that means there's 3 people in the small circle. That will instantly cause a wipe. But you notice before the second ballistic missile hit, he actually moved out of the small circle and into the large circle. So you do have quite a bit of time in order to make sure that things don't go wrong for you there. Now on top of that, I'm going to have to start dealing with Brainjack here. Again, I elected to do this. I don't think you have to use a Bard, but I think Bard is definitely one of the better jobs for it because you want to be stationary the whole time. You don't want to have to be going between flank and rear. So a ranged DPS works a lot better, or even an off tank if you're running 2 tanks for this fight, because we're running 1 tank, but you can run 2 tanks if you have your healers DPSing to make up for the lack of DPS difference in not having 5 DPS. So, but you really need to make sure you're standing inside this guy's butt, and somebody needs to be able to stand still and do it. I also feel like that person should be the person doing homing missile, which is why I elect to do that right there. I grab homing missile right after I finish the Brainjack. It's just, it's not the only way to do it. It's just the way I feel about it. So it's the way that we decided to approach that part of the fight. So Brainjack's coming out every 30 seconds. So basically after homing missile is done, I stack up for either chains, depending on where we are in the phase, or I stack up for gaseous bomb, just split the damage a little bit more. And then I get right back here. There's no point in just not standing here with the Brainjack. As you can see, I'm standing just behind the boss in such a way that the tank gets Brainjacked, but he's still in front of the boss. So it prevents something like that. See that diffusion ray? It prevents any diffusion rays from facing the group because he's still facing the boss away from us. Now, One big thing in here is we're going to get to a point where this phase actually becomes a little bit more difficult. Now, we got landmines right here. We push that landmine tower first. You absolutely want to try and avoid having landmines and chains at the same time, and ballistic missile. I should really just call it ballistic missile. When I call it out in my groups, I call it chains, so I apologize. It's so much better. And I'm actually going to speak about that a little bit later when we get another set of double towers, one specifically that I think we could have done better on. So doing Brainjack right here. Now, one thing as the Bard, I will say, I do keep the main tank focused so I can see the Brainjack timer for myself. That helps me judge when homing missile is going to come and when Brainjack is going to wear off. It helps me, so I do it. So we get another set of ballistic missiles here. We get a small and a large. So we have one person in the small, one person in the large. He's just on the outside of it. We group back up for Gaseous Bomb. And I believe this is the set of double towers. Yes. Dreadnought and landmines. Now, this is two evils that you absolutely don't want to deal with regardless. We pop the Dreadnought first because we want to get him out of the way. Now, looking at this from the perspective of chains, we only get away from this because we have so much DPS. If you do not have the DPS to do it how we do it, then it causes problems very quickly. So the reason why we spawn the Dreadnought and then just deal with the landmines and the chains at the same time, we have so much DPS that we push the boss into his final phase before Ballistic Missile comes out. So we don't have to worry about people hitting the landmines and also running and also getting into the chains in case somebody who's really far away gets chained up for Ballistic Missile. So what we end up doing here, he's casting Brainjack. Now, I make a huge mistake here that almost costs us the entire fight. I can be honest about that. It is completely my error, and it almost cost us this win on this attempt. So after the Dreadnought was done, I moved. Big mistake. I am still the Brainjack off tank. I needed to not do that. What resulted is that the tank actually grabbed a homing missile. Everybody moved in to dodge landmines. They all got hit by it, and then the players who were doing the landmines, one of them got killed, our summoner. Completely my error. He took extra damage he didn't need to, all because I moved early from that Brainjack. So that really speaks to the importance of not messing up that Brainjack, because it can cause so many problems. Now, we are in the final phase, so Allegan Field is going to start going out now. It's actually on our Scholar. So what do? It lasts 30 seconds, so you Eloquium them and you Stone Skin them. You can Sacred Soil and Storm's Path to try and prevent any extra damage from the boss, but Storm's Path won't really affect the defensive maneuver tower, so it doesn't matter. So that Allegan Field went off. A new one's going to go off in a second. We actually got quite a bit of good RNG on this fight, too. We had contingency plans in place for landmines and defensive maneuver and dreadnoughts and all that. We got extremely lucky, in my opinion. So the next person who got it was actually, who is that? Our Black Mage. He got it. So what does he do? He just, gets a Stone Skin Eloquium, and he's fine. So I move back in. We split the damage right here. He takes nothing. Now, pay very close attention here, because this is actually very important. With the way that Allegan Field lines up with the defensive maneuvers, watch. See how it went off at the exact same time? Critical Surge is the name of Allegan Shield when it explodes. See how it went off at the exact same time as defensive maneuver? It actually went, the damage for Allegan Field, while it hit us second, didn't go off. It didn't absorb the damage from defensive maneuver first. So timing like that happens actually quite often in this fight. Now, timing like that also happens quite often in the end too, especially when you get the double defensive maneuvers. There's going to be a point where somebody needs to have Stone Skin and Eloquium just to prevent damage from a defensive maneuver. They're going to explode in a second here, and it's going to do quite a bit of damage. But because they only took maybe 1,300, 1,400 damage, the 3,000 damage we took from Critical Surge from Allegan Field wasn't all that bad. It was recoverable, I guess, is the main point. So now we're on the second set of triple towers, so we actually feed 2 to the Dreadnought. We want that Dreadnought out of the way now. Now. We got to get rid of it. So I'm still doing homing missiles. We still have an Allegan Field out. We're handling it the same way we have been. And the Dreadnought's going to spawn any second. Now, we kill that thing the same that we always have. Now, there is a little bit of an awkward skill lineup here. And you'll see that. I'll wait till this Dreadnought spawns. These towers definitely take an extra, like, 5 seconds per stack. They have to, because this Dreadnought took, like, an extra 10 seconds to spawn. There has to be some sort of difference in timing here. As much as it didn't seem that way when we were first doing it, right here, it's hard to not say that it was different. So he's putting a new Allegan Field out. So we have a new Allegan Field. We have a Dreadnought. We have homing missiles. And we now have landmines. Homing missile, landmines. Right there. That Dreadnought needs to die very soon before those landmines go out. because if they do not, could be bad news bears. We managed to actually recover from it and do pretty well. And we're going to have this third. Now, again, Elegant Field is going to go off a split second before defensive maneuver deals damage to the person. So watch. See? Exact same thing that happened last time. It says critical surge hit us second, but the ability went off and went off the player before the defensive maneuver hit any of us. So it actually plays out very well. So you don't need to worry about those lining up and you taking the damage doubled over, because it would kill you if it was like that. And I can only imagine how much the fight would change if those abilities went off at their different times. But at this point, we have less than a minute to go to finish the fight. We send the people off to their tower so the boss doesn't get any stacks, and we just burn the boss down. We're going to get one more set of landmines, but we are in the final stretch here. We use another tier 1 limit break right now. We were thinking of saving up for a 2, but then by the time we got to this point, we're like, nope, we got to kill him now. He's got to die. And he does. Thank goodness. That is actually the end of the fight. We beat it in 10 minutes and 42 seconds with a single DPS death. So we could have actually pushed it a little bit faster considering they were weakened for 2 minutes of the fight. But overall, that was with 1 tank and 5 DPS. And we were very happy that we managed to pull this off. I don't know. That's just what to say. One last thing, since this is a Bard perspective video, I do run songs like half the fight. You run Faux Requiem with Battle Voice at the start, and then you pretty much just have to alternate between Paeon and Ballad for the rest of the fight, because I know it's like, oh, but it reduces my damage. Yeah, but the rest of your party needs to do damage too, and if they don't have TP or MP, especially in the case of summoners and your healers, they can't do anything. They're helpless. You gotta be able to support them in a fight like this. You gotta put your numbers aside, your damage aside. You gotta accept that it's for the bigger picture. It's for the better cause. We're taking a screenshot right here, just for fun, just because it was our first kill. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully this helped you guys understand how the fight plays out a little bit better and how to deal with a little bit of the RNG and how to counteract it. Always have contingency plans for things like Elegant Field and homing missiles and feeding towers and things like that. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV videos. Be sure to check out the rest of the videos on my channel as well. Not all Final Fantasy XIV videos. I'm busy being fabulous right here, so it was worth it. And also be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. You can ask me questions, especially about this fight or about anything else, really. Here's the loot, by the way. We got Fending Gloves, Striking Gloves, and the Sand of Time, which we gave to our Black Mage, who now has his item level 110 weapon. Congratulations to him. And finally, you can follow me on Twitch, where I do live stream Final Fantasy XIV. I mostly just mess around, have fun, do the stuff that I do daily, you know, do my dailies, do my treasure maps, do some dungeons and things like that, and just mess around and talk with the chat and answer questions. So be sure to come by. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.